What up, YouTube? This JT, and let's get into this whole Golovkin Canelo dilemma and all this drama. You know what I mean? Um, you got deluded man defenders like Sean Newton and um, Thunderdome. You know, they're severely upset. And they're making up stories and in their warped mind about this whole situation. Um, you know, so I'm just giving my take on it, and you know, get into it. So, the WBC is giving Canelo another extension. They're giving him until May 31st to even start negotiating the fight, and they grant him another voluntary defense. They also grant Triple G a voluntary defense, which apparently is going to fight in March or April. So, which is cool, which I feel is the right thing to do. I mean, I think people are just jumping the guns, man, and I feel the right way to do it. I mean, I feel Golden Boy, De La Hoya, they'll be stupid to just throw Canelo in there. I mean, in the first fight at middleweight against a legit middleweight, the first fight against Triple G. I mean, that's stupid. I mean, whoever thought that was going to happen, I mean, come on, man. I mean, there's no way they would do something like that. That would be in complete detriment of their whole company, I know it sucks, but that would just be the smart thing to do for all parties involved. I mean, what people keep bringing up is, Golovkin's age, 33. Saying he doesn't have this time, and they're trying to wait till Golovkin gets old. I mean, these types of things, are on different basis. It's a case-by-case scenario, Yes, Golovkin's 33, okay? But at the end of the day, you look at his style, it's not a style where he's exerting a lot of energy. It's not a style where he's throwing a lot of punches. He doesn't, have to throw 100 punches around. He's not like that bitch Manny Pacquiao. He's, coming forward, cutting off the ring, and landing precision shots with precision power shots. That combined with the fact that he hasn't taken a lot of punishment, I don't think age is any factor here. I don't think it's that much of a factor. Yes, he's 33, but who knows how long he can keep going. I mean, I don't see any signs of decline. They said the same thing about Floyd, When Floyd was fighting Cotto, he was 35. People were saying he's declining. When he was fighting Mosley, 34, they were saying the dude could keep going today and still be number one pound for pound in boxing, okay? So, I don't think age is a factor, but the weight, that's a different scenario. Unlike a lot of these man defenders out here, who come online to defend men and, put up their defensive barrier and get mad and dislike every video that says something bad about their favorite fighter, like fucking bitches that they are. Like, no pussy getting bitches that they are, like, unlike those people, you have to be rational. The thing is, as far as the weight, I mean, to me, Canelo is clearly the smaller guy, okay? Clearly. He fights at a smaller weight. Okay, he fights at 154, 155. Golovkin fights at middleweight. Golovkin is used to fighting full-fledged middleweights. He is naturally the bigger guy. He has his frame is used to that weight. Canelo has never fought a real middleweight, and he's a short guy. It doesn't matter how much you rehydrate. Doesn't matter. You could say people say, oh, like a little bitch Thunderdome. Oh, he rehydrates to 175. Yeah, what does that mean? He's drinking a lot of water after sucking himself down, but who is naturally the bigger guy? Okay? I mean, Brandon Rios just fought Tim Bradley at welterweight. And guess what he rehydrated to? 170 pounds. So does that mean he's the same size as Gennady Golovkin, since you man defenders like to say, oh, but Golovkin only rehydrates to 170. Does that mean he's the same size as Brandon Rios? You see what I'm saying? Just because you rehydrate to a certain weight, because you suck yourself down and then drink all this water and electrolytes and Pedialyte the next day, and you're able to balloon up full of water and fluid the next day, doesn't mean you're naturally the bigger guy. Okay, bitch ass man defenders? Do you get that? Canelo is a smaller guy. Okay? Secondly, I think it's, if Triple G and his team really wanted leverage, they could have held out, sued the WBC, and got their mandatory title shot, But here's the thing with that. The thing is, if you sue the WBC because they've owed you a title shot since you beat Marco Antonio Rubio, which means he should have been fighting the winner of Cotto Martinez back then. That fight happened in 2014? So he could go about doing that, but what is that going to accomplish? You're still not going to get the big money fight. This shit is all about money, man. Golovkin wants the payday, okay? Which he deserves, Fighting a guy on pay-per-view and making $2 million, that's not cutting it, okay? That's not adequate money, okay? When you got guys on PBC making $1.5 million to fight, nobody. Danny Garcia got that to fight Paulie Malignaggi. Okay? So it's either that or you sign Al Heyman, which would be the smart thing to do. But at the end of the day, suing the WBC is going to get you nowhere. You're still not going to get the fight with Canelo. You're still not getting the millions you're looking for. Okay, Golovkin's looking to make millions and knock out a superstar in boxing, which you can't blame him for. Okay, he wants to get paid. He's in a great position right now to have this possible opportunity, but at the end of the day, he's leaving himself open to getting jerked around again because he has nothing in concrete. Apparently, we don't know. All right, we don't know as of now. But he doesn't have anything solidified that Canelo is even going to fight him after May 31st or at what weight or whatever, okay? So that's a whole nother issue, okay? But End of the day, it's called leverage, and I think Canelo's just flexing his leverage. Do I think Canelo is scared of Golovkin? Uh, maybe not. But at the end of the day, he has to look at the pros and the cons. Canelo is gonna want his highest payday to fight Golovkin, and there's a possibility that, there's always a possibility when fighting Golovkin that, not only will you lose, but you're gonna get knocked out. So, that's kind of that's a hard one to swallow. No homo. I mean, Canelo being right now one of the faces of boxing, faces of Golden Boy. To throw him in there, you're gonna want some insurance. Pretty much. And that's why the catch weight. Fighting Golovkin at middleweight, Canelo being a smaller guy, I don't think he has much of a chance in that fight. But if he sucks him down a little bit, 156, 157, I think it's a more even fight. I think that's a reasonable weight, and I think that's what should happen. He should fight him at 157 pounds. 155, now that's a duck in my opinion. That's not reasonable. That's not, that's Manny Pacquiao fighting Oscar De La Hoya at 147. That type of shit. It's not it's not reasonable, okay? I think they should make the fight at 157 pounds. Everyone happy, and we get to enjoy a great fight. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, if they really cared about the belt like they say, they would have held out, and said that, hey, man, you already told us that our next fight would be the winner of Canelo Cotto, so we want the belt. We don't care. But they don't care about the belt. That's all talk. They want the money. They want to fight Canelo. They want to get paid, which is nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. But at the end of the day, when that's what you want to do, then you kind of at other guys' mercy. So I don't know what the final outcome of this is going to be. I think Golovkin fights a fight in May, and they go into negotiations, but I think Canelo's going to try to fight on Cinco de Mayo weekend. And, they're going to try to negotiate a fight for apparently September, which is not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy to negotiate this fight. What I see happening is another mandatory defense after this one, and possibly they fight the year after that, Cinco de Mayo. That's more logical. That's most likely what's going to happen. They'll probably negotiate for September, probably a doubleheader. They fight different opponents, and they fight the following year, Cinco de Mayo. Because at the end of the day, man, again, you have to respect the fact that Canelo is a 154-pounder. You can't, you bitches can't have it both ways. You cry and complain when all these, people attack Golovkin fans because he wants to fight Chavez at 168 and not war, okay? But when Canelo wants to do that type of shit, you guys got your little G-strings and panties in a bunch, okay? You can't force weight classes on a guy. And that's just same for Golovkin haters. You can't say, oh, you have to go to 168 and your first fight has to be Andre Ward. It's the same with Canelo. You can't say go to 160 and expect your first fight to be against the strongest, best guy with the highest knockout ratio. I mean, it just don't work like that. That would be stupidity on Golovkin's part, and that'll be stupidity on Canelo's part. I think this fight is 2 fights away. Even even to say that it's gonna be one fight then Golovkin, I still don't see that happening, man. I could tell you right now that's not happening. Canelo's next fight most likely will be at a higher catch weight. It'll probably be at 157. This fight after that could be at the full middleweight limit, and then the next fight can be Golovkin. That's logically speaking what's going to happen. It's probably 2 or 3 fights away. Unless, he don't have to fight a real one at middleweight. He's going to have to fight a Jacobs, Quillen, Andy Lee. He's going to have to fight someone to prove he's a middleweight. But, most likely that's not going to happen. I see his next fight being against either the winner of the Clottey Rosado fight, and that fight will be at a catch weight probably 157. And then after that, he fights a full-fledged middleweight. And then after that, he fights Golovkin. So barring on the outcome of all those fights and how he looks and how Golovkin looks, that's the barometer on whether this fight's gonna happen. So I think you guys just have to look at it from a different perspective. This isn't a video game. This isn't pulling names out of a hat and whoever comes out the hat you fight. That's how those bitch ass packtards think. Stupidity like that. I mean, it don't work like that. This is it's a business. You're not just gonna do stupidity like that just to satisfy a bunch of man defenders, okay? You have to use your head. So that's how I see it going. It's your boy JT. I'm out.